Hey everybody, my name's Yvonne Villarreal and I cover TV here at the LA Times. And never in my life have I been more sure that no one is looking at me than in this moment, because we're here with Caitriona and Sam from Outlander. Yeah, thanks for making me feel invisible.
I thought you were about to play that game there where you have to say, never in my life have I ever.
I mean, we could do that too.
Oh God, do we have to drink or what?
Well, actually, you know, when we put out the call that we're doing this chat, the response was immediate and fast and overwhelming. But there were also some diehard fans that were like, please don't ask all the same questions that we hear all the time.
That's good.
And I don't know if you know, but there's Outlander bingo.
Oh, really? What is this?
You can have one too, Caitriona. So if at any time I ask you...
This is so great.
This is awesome.
Have you seen this before?
No, but we should play.
Yes.
Can we keep this?
I need one of those big pens that you...
Yes, we need a big pen. It's very interesting. So
whenever we do any other...
sorry, there's like... Here, I'll give you the fresh version.
Oh, okay.
That could be my version.
Sure, okay. You can play along at home.
You can play along. It's on Twitter. Someone sent it to me. I forgot to mark who sent it, but I think it's interesting. I'll try not to ask all these questions.
But if you do, we have to shout bingo, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But congrats on the recent multi-seasonal renewal. That must have been amazing.
I know, it's very exciting. Not one, congratulations to you, not one, but two.
What does it feel like? Is it kind of like, okay, now I can buy that purse I really wanted, or
I haven't even
car I
thought
really
of
wanted?
that.
Do you think that way? Like, there's a little more stability.
It's definitely weird. I mean, I've never had a job this long in my life previous ever. So, you know, to know that that's going to extend for like the best part of another 3 years is, I mean, that's kind of exciting.
I guess as an actor, you always, kind of one of the reasons you get into the job is to do different things. And so part of you is like internally screaming because you're like, oh my God, I'm doing the same thing. But it's also such a great challenge and very exciting to be given this wonderful job that we can kind of go for another who knows how long. Yeah, I am excited. Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
It also must be terrifying though, because it's sort of like, what else are we going to endure on this show? Because you guys endure a lot. Well, your characters do.
Well, the good thing about this show is we have the books, so we can kind of read ahead and see what's going on. But I think, you know, speaking to what Sam said about, you know, as an actor, you know, you want variety and you want to do different things. And I think the great thing about this show is that every season is like a new show in many ways, and you get to live a very long time with these characters and really deepen their experience and your understanding of them. But yet it's always kept fresh because there's such new circumstances, and that keeps it, it keeps it exciting.
Feel like, you know, we're going to be entering a new chapter, and as you said yourself, you know, like from season 1 to season 2, there were great changes for our characters, and we've been through so much, and so, yeah, just to think where we go in season 3 and 4 could be really exciting.
You mentioned the book aspect. Like, have you guys sort of mastered the art of like dancing around the spoilers, what you can say and what you can't say? Because it's like there are people out there that like already know, but then I don't know, like how is it navigating that?
I think that's the hardest thing as an actor, because obviously you're sent out and you're trying to promote your show, but then you're like, but I can't tell you anything that's in it. And so you want to speak of your experience and you want to talk about your character's journey and, you know, exciting things that happen for them.
Right.
But then you can't. So you end up, I don't know, I feel like I always just get very vague and give these sort of platitudes, but...
you could play sort of Outlander bingo with our answers sometimes. Exactly. Always the same, but it's because you can't reveal anything. Everything seems to be a spoiler on this show.
How about you guys moved this season, sort of transfers the setting a bit from Scotland to France. How was that for you to sort of work your way into? It's a different, even clothes-wise, a different thing.
I mean, it felt very different. I think we both, I suppose, struggled in a way in the beginning, because it was like, wait, what is this? And you're trying to keep the integrity of your character, and yet our characters were almost playing characters as well. So in the beginning it did feel a little uncomfortable, I suppose, but luckily with so many of things with Outlander, it mirrored the journey of our characters quite perfectly. So I think in that way it was a great thing to use, you know, and I think as an actor you have to use what's available to you, and so that newness and that uncertainty and that figuring it out, it was quite helpful as you were going along as an actor as well.
It feels like we're constantly, as actors, being put into situations that, you know, or the character situation that is so new to us, and so we're never allowed to sort of rest on our laurels. We're always discovering new things about the characters, and I think that's what makes, as we said before, the show so interesting and rewarding as an actor as well.
How about, let's talk about more about the clothes. Like, the costumes on this show are amazing. Do you have favorites, and what's it like? How does it sort of inform your character and how you portray the character, and just the mindset of how much does that help you?
I mean, it helps hugely. You know, Terry is, I mean, she's been such a fan of this series for such a long time, so her knowledge of the characters and what she wants to do with them, and how each of them have a very particular personality and style, is amazing. And when you go and you have the first conversations with her about what she's about to do, it's always so fascinating to see where she's pulled the inspiration from. And you know, we started doing secret fittings for season 2 at the end of season 1, and you know, I started to see the shapes because we were doing them all in like, you know, in toile, so there was none of the colors of the fabrics yet. And at that point, you're like, whoa, this is going to be very, very different. And then when I came back, and just to see that, like, the sumptuousness of it, and how vibrant and vivid everything was really, it was such a difference. But, you know, it's interesting as a woman of our time wearing a corset all the time and a bum roll and all of these yards of fabrics, you know, that restriction and restrictiveness and kind of being so ornamental is quite an interesting thing. And it's only when you look back later, I mean, it definitely affects your emotions, I think, because your air supply is restricted for so much of the day. And I can, you know, there's definitely some that are more comfortable than others, but I can almost track certain costumes where I'll be slightly emotional those days, or maybe not as easy to handle things, and probably really annoying.
Key to acting there, isn't it? Just give me a really tight corset and I can be emotional.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, just your nerves are a little bit more on edge. It's funny. It definitely, it affects you, and it's interesting to look back on it now and be able to see all of that. But there's so, I mean, Terry's just incredible at what she does.
But there's also about you as an actor, I think, also tapping into that. You know, you're probably you're feeling constricted, so then you can use that into the character. And I think in Jamie's sense as well, it was very much buttoned up and, you know, playing a part. And but it's a nice counterpoint to the second half of the season, which we're at now, you know, and we're back in Scotland, and it's kind of dulled down, and there's lots of mud and blood, and somehow it's a really nice counterpoint to the first half of the season.
When you must feel freer with the kilts, right?
You do,
in
yeah.
more ways than one.
It was.
And one of the questions is. Just saying.
Bingo. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we all felt, you know, the cast and crew going back to Scotland, not just the costumes, but also the sets and the relationships as well, felt like we were going back to an old friend. And it's building on what happened in the first half of the season, but it really, I think, toward the second half of the season really begins to gain momentum. And certainly the episode that was aired last weekend, and this one coming up this weekend, I'm so proud of. I think the whole ensemble, Caitriona is amazing, as we've seen, but I think everyone across the board in the next episode is just so strong. So it's good.
Do you have a favorite
episode?
A costume.
Costume?
One you wish you could have taken home?
Most of the ones that are my favorites would be very hard to find a place where I could wear it outside of the
neighborhood grocery store.
Yeah.
Why not?
Just like have no one else on the footpath with me. The Dior, the one that we call the Dior, is definitely one of my favorites. I think it's just because I loved what Terry did by bringing elements of the 40s into the 18th century and having that link with the Claire, you know, Claire's life and her aesthetic and what she would enjoy in a visual medium. So I just loved that, and I loved the simplicity in the lines of it. But there's the other one we call the dressage, which is the one that she wears in the gardens when Jamie and Blackjack see each other for the first time again. It's a spectacular, spectacular outfit. Weighs a ton, but it's spectacular.
It is stunning, yeah. And your hats are amazing as well.
Yeah, well, the hats that go with both of those. It's just, you know, it's just it's so rare. I mean, nowadays we don't get the chance to do it all. You know, the hat, the gloves, the bag, everything. It's just, and the details that Terry went into are just incredible.
Right. Well, and Diana's obviously still a consultant on the show, but you're checking.
Just checking,
bingo.
it's not done. So carry on, you're fine.
But she also wrote a script this season, right? What was that like? And, you know, what's it like still having her be involved in around the set? Is she sending you emails or texts or telling you?
I actually got one today from her. She's just read I think I'd say that. She's just read the first episode of the next season, and she's really happy and excited. And I was like, oh, what?
I need to email her.
Yeah,
about that.
What's happening? Who's written it? But it's no, she was great, and obviously we were all excited that she had written this script. And I think when we all did the read through, you know, we were delighted. It read really well. Has a great pace to it. It's coming up soon, and it was great to have her on set as well. You know, she was there, and also writing a book while she was also on set, and to be playing Jamie while she's writing Jamie is kind of a weird thing.
It was funny, you could see her, and it's almost like she goes off into, you know, this imaginary world where she's like sort of talking to herself and seeing it play out, and then you see her go back to the writing. It's amazing to watch somebody go through that process.
Probably saying, God, what are they doing to us? Oh my God. Writing an email to stars.
Exactly.
But, no, she's been so supportive, hasn't she? And
Yeah.
We're lucky that you know, that she's supported us, and you know, we've changed certain things within, you know, her books in this season especially, but I think she's been really supportive of that.
But it's amazing. She has the confidence, and she understands that it's a different medium, and to watch her then write a script which, you know, is already taking her own material and melding that and changing that for another format. And then also within that, you know, anytime things weren't working, like we had a situation with one of the scenes in her script where, because of the location, it wasn't working, or we couldn't quite figure out the choreography of it. And, you know, Diana's the first person to kind of be like, well, then we'll just do this, this, and this. And it's that freedom that she has with her own material, because I guess she just knows it so well, and she trusts herself. And it was quite great to watch that.
Was she giving a lot of notes while filming the episode?
She would remain quite quiet, I think, and let everyone do their thing. There's a lot of people on set that have, you know, a lot of ideas, and so. But then I remember there was, you know, one specific scene that, you know, we couldn't quite get it to work, and eventually she just came out with like the way to fix it, and it was great that she was very astute, and she just kind of cuts through all the, you know, it is very forthright and very straightforward, and we were lucky to have her there. I'm not sure we could entice her back.
No, I think
I'm done.
I think, was it November when she was there?
It was tough,
and it was rough. I mean, she did so well, but it was, you know, I think she started off, it was quite funny to watch the evolution of her clothes, because the first few days it was like just the jackets and boots and wet weather gear, and then it was just another scarf would appear every day. So by the end, you could just see this little tiny face come out.
We just fed her a lot of hot chocolate.
A lot of hot chocolate.
Yeah.
Did you pour it into her?
Oh yeah, I spoon-fed her. Yeah.
I'm sure that's what she would want it. Well, the first season obviously focused on the couple sort of in the newlywed sort of phase. We got to see the love develop and stuff, but season 2, there's a lot of trauma going on. There's a lot of challenges they face. Talk about taking the next step with their relationship and seeing how things sort of evolved.
Well, I thought it was great to have that opportunity to watch this marriage evolve, and especially within the circumstances of, you know, Jamie was recovering from such a horrific trauma by the end of season 1, and, you know, how does a trauma like that affect not just him as a person, but his relationships? And that was a really interesting thing for us to be able to play. You know, where is the intimacy? You know, it's been effectively destroyed because of that, but, you know, where do they come together, and what is it that keeps their bond strong? And, you know, the pregnancy was a huge, I guess, safe place for them, or a place of hope for them. And then to watch them go through the loss of a child was a really, you know, horrible ordeal for both of them. And you know, and then how does a couple get over something like that? You know, how does a couple get over the loss of a child? And that was I think that was a really momentous moment for this couple this season. And then the second half of the season, it's really great to watch, you know, Jamie especially, you know, blossom into this man that he's always, I think, you know, has always been there, but he's really sort of come into his own, and Claire's right there at his side, and the two of them have this partnership, and it's great. I think that's something that's been great to watch for the rest of the season.
We're a little nervous as well at the start, because, you know, people have bought into this relationship, and it's the thing that they love, and, you know, the fans of the books want to see the Jamie and Claire that we all know and love, and to sort of go against that. And you know, personally, you know, from my side, I wanted Jamie not to sort of be as shiny or as kind of, you know, good as we've seen him in the first half of the season, and then to see him grow into this man. But also, and then they become this strong partnership that are trying to do something that's bigger than themselves. And so it's not about, you know, their relationship. It's about the mission that they're trying to do. They're trying to save, you know, everything that they know and love. So it's become bigger than them.
Well, and it's interesting because bad things seem to happen when they're apart. What do you make of that, and what that says about their bond?
Well, you know, I think that they're soulmates. They're meant to be together, and you know, we're going to see them apart again, and we're going to see how that affects them each individually, and that's something I'm really looking forward to in season 3, to see how that...
having to work with me.
It all comes out here.
Basically.
Yeah.
Great.
No, but you know, what's so great about this, and what Diana has always said about her books, and what we've found really interesting, is that this is a portrayal of a marriage, and how does a marriage stay together? And, you know, I think sometimes people just want to see, well, them having sex all the time and how everything's just so wonderful and great. And it's like, well, then there's no drama. And also, life isn't like that. You know, you have that first blush of passion and all of those things, and then people settle into, you know, real relationships. And you know, I just think it's interesting to watch how they fight to remain together, and how they fight through all of these different circumstances, and you know, how they keep their bond, you know.
You want to add anything to that?
Absolutely. You know,
I think Caitriona rambled enough for both of us.
I won't have to work. You know, it's absolutely. You know, and it has become, you know, a more grown-up relationship, and I think that everything that they go through makes them stronger and deeper, and that love. And then season 3 is going to be, without giving away spoilers, but you know, they are going to spend time apart, or maybe, you know, lose each other, and what does that do to these people that need to be with each other? It's going to be just a real exciting challenge for us as actors, I think. And
well, one thing that the shows never fail to do is generate conversation and get people talking, and, you know, which is a good thing. You saw that last season with the rape scene, and talk about this season and the discussion that happened surrounding this season's rape scene, and what you thought about how people responded to it, and what your response to it was.
To Fergus, you know, I think it's always tough when you have material like that, and you know, we have a source material that we have to stay true to, and so each time you have situations like this come up, whether it be the rape of Mary this season or the rape of Fergus, you don't, you want to try and make sure that it's not just a plot point, that you invest enough time to give these characters agency so that there is a point to it, and that you will come away from it hopefully having some kind of understanding about a situation that has befallen this character. With Mary, I'm so excited about what we're going to see going forward. I think the writers have done an incredible job about giving her a through line with it, and she has a drastic shift in the type of woman that she becomes. And I think that, as horrific as what befell her, I think it's a real defining moment in her life and gives her strength to draw from in a very strange way.
Yeah.
And with Fergus, I mean, this child grew up in a brothel, and he has spent his entire life seeing horrific things. In the book, he actually was also a prostitute, and the writers had chosen not to do that part, but we have to see that in some ways he is a child who's been, traumatized to his core, or that he's gone through something horrific like that to understand the man he will become much later on. And so, I feel like with Blackjack, again, this is him being a sadist and exerting his power, and it has a catastrophic effect with the relationship with Jamie and that. But I think with Fergus, it's just horrible to watch a child go through something like that. But it also, in some way, is the catalyst for him having this very strong home with Jamie and Claire going forward. So, hopefully something good has come out of that.
Yeah. And as a plot, just as a plot device, but, for Jamie to break his word to Claire would have to be something, really big. And and it's horrific for Jamie to see, and he just cannot control himself. It's always, the catalyst is always Blackjack. And it seems to be, certainly in season 2, the moment that he turns up, it just begins to sort of mix everything up again. So
That Tobias.
yes.
I know.
Let's just talk about him for a second. What are your real thoughts?
Let's talk about Tobias. Yeah.
Let's talk about that man. He's so good at being
so good at being bad.
So good at being bad.
I think that should actually be Tobias's tattoo.
Just
I think
a t-shirt,
he would.
yeah.
How about, this might be a bingo question, and I apologize, but I do want to hear your thoughts. Is there a scene, I love that he's looking, is there a scene that you were excited for the fans to finally see how it plays out, or even if it hasn't aired yet, but was there a scene that either you enjoyed that you couldn't wait for people to see, or were sort of interested to see how people would react to it?
Yeah, just in last week's episode, I was excited because it's not that often we stray very far from the books, and so I thought it was a really fun and interesting thing that Matt wrote to go back to the 40s, and it's always a risk with that because you don't know if the fans are going to be like, oh, that never happened.
Right.
So, but it was exciting, and I think it was a nice little thing to show where the origins of Jesus H. Roosevelt Christ came from, and to see Claire with the Americans and all of that thing. I thought it was really fun, and it was a nice.
You see another side of Claire as well that we don't get to see, and sometimes I don't know, like she. It's nice to see her in a different setting. It's like younger as well. I felt like but she
yes,
is
yes, I was much younger.
there's something about her energy in the scenes that before this is all sort of the horrors of war or whatever. But I'm excited about the next episode. I think it's just something as a Scotsman, is very close to our history, and there's also just things that happen in that episode that are surprising and.
Give me
spoiler.
Give me one spoiler, teeny tiny. That's
Give
a
you
hint.
one spoiler. People die.
No.
It's called Preston Pans. I mean, it's like.
Well,
it's right there in the title.
Yeah.
I don't want to put you guys on the spot, so I'm going to give you time to think about it, but I'm going to say it right now. At the end, I kind of want you to ask a question that you always wanted to ask Caitriona, either about the role or whatever, and vice versa. But first, I'm going to get to some fan questions because we have to give them their dues because they've been asking a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So Amber on Twitter asks, if you could travel back to any era, when would it be and why?
Bingo!
Sorry, Amber. Next. We only need a few more. What do we win?
I don't know. You could win a coffee mug.
LA Times mug? I'd love one.
A coffee mug, yes.
Right.
Yeah, cool.
That's
Okay,
it.
we got it. All right.
Bingo's the answer to everything.
How will you prepare to play older Jamie and Claire?
I've decided that Jamie should be quite large.
He's going to eat a lot of donuts.
Donuts, yeah. So I think that's one way.
I like that.
In all seriousness, I mean, I think there is something about the physicality, and it's certainly a way that I like to approach it. I don't know. We haven't. I mean, there are ideas. I kind of don't want to tell you, to be honest. But there are ways. But I think ultimately it comes down to being away from the person that he loves, and I actually think he's lost. So why is he still alive? What's he got to live for? And how does that affect you? Emotionally. So physically, actually, I think you look at the books. I was speaking to Diana a little bit about it, and I don't think Jamie changes an awful lot physically, but there will be something. I mean, for me personally, Jamie's changed so much in my mind. His physicality has changed, and over his first 2 seasons. So, yeah, there's a lot to think about.
Okay.
A limp, maybe.
Claire's going to have a limp.
A glass eye.
Well, I think by the time we get to shooting that, we'll be so much older than we were from the beginning.
You won't have to do much, yeah.
I think it's interesting to contemplate what is the weight of experience and what does time do to you, and especially when you've lived a somewhat compromised existence, or, with Claire, maybe a life of disappointment in many ways. But Claire, as we know, or as some people may know, I mean, she's going to become a surgeon. She will have spent a lot of time in Boston.
Right.
And I think that there's going to be something to that professionalism, and also she's a daughter, so it's a mother. I don't know. There's.
Well, we've now seen something, haven't we? Talk amongst yourselves. I'm sure we've
1950s.
seen a little flash with a young daughter. So we've seen a little bit of.
I like that. You're good at this.
Claire, older Claire. Yeah.
Sarah on Twitter asked, would either of you be interested in directing an episode?
I would love to direct, Caitriona. Yeah.
It'll never happen.
So
never.
Good.
What would your direction be?
Again.
Yeah, faster. Better.
All right.
Wow.
Cindy asks, have you ever felt like you became your character or got lost in your role?
Well, hope so, Cindy. I mean,
I think you get lost in scenes, and you get lost in the doing of it. I think if you feel like you've become the character, then maybe you might have to start worrying, because hopefully we all have a sort of good check on reality at the same point.
I think when you're in a scene, you're in a scene, and I think sometimes you may be not as much in it, but there's definitely an energy that when everyone's in a scene, and anything could kind of happen, and people would respond to it, and that's I guess acting.
Jenny on Twitter asked, Elizabeth on Twitter, were you glad the PTSD angle was included in the story?
I loved that. I loved seeing, I think that Claire, since the miscarriage, is a much more fragile person in many ways. And so when we lead up to this battle, I mean, she's everything is just much more close to the surface. So it was really interesting to have those triggers for her that brought all of this horror back from Second World War. And, you know, for someone who's always come across as so capable and so strong, it was really nice to see that vulnerability and that fragility with her. And yeah, and I think it's, you know, it's been amazing on Twitter. You know, there's been lots of people who have really appreciated it, and people who weren't necessarily always soldiers in wartime, but have experienced situations that are traumatic, and they've, I think with both Sam's, with Jamie's PTSD this season and Claire's, it's nice to bring that out into the conversation. And
I was just thinking about baseball, to be honest. She could never go to another baseball game.
A lot of people wanted to know when you start shooting season 3.
So do we. I think we'd like to know.
Well, I think we know. Are we allowed to say?
Why not?
I mean, I don't know. Are we?
Few months?
Not that in a few months.
When do we shoot season 4? That's what I want to know. Yeah.
That's the bigger question.
That is.
Okay. The time is now. What's your question for Caitriona?
Oh,
I like that he's going with bingo.
I know.
I'm gonna go with a bingo one.
Like looking at it.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, you've answered all of these. What TV show are you watching right now?
Oh God, don't ask me that.
Okay.
I sort of I'm in a mid.
You a bit of a flump?
I'm in a bit of a slump at the moment.
Slump.
Yeah, I'm not
What
actually.
TV show should she watch aside from Outlander, obviously?
Is there anything else? I've been watching Vikings. Which I've been really enjoying, actually. It's terrific. I tried twice to watch it and failed, and then something really caught me, and it's amazing. It's really good. Yeah, there's a lot of parallels between their show and ours.
Hairy men.
Hairy men.
Do you have a question you've always wanted to ask Sam that you've never?
Uh-oh.
Nothing's off limits here.
Nothing. Okay. Just ask. I'll answer. I'll be truthful.
Why are you always so late?
Can we address this?
Comes out.
Oh well, can we address this right now? This is something that Caitriona doesn't know. So what happens, right, on set is we get ready in the morning, and I'm ready before her because she has a lot of things to do. She has all this costuming stuff. So I go to my trailer, I'm ready, and we all wait for Caitriona. So I'm lying on my sofa, I'm playing music, I'm eating, normally eating, and I wait for Caitriona. And sometimes it's half an hour, sometimes it's an hour.
That's never
They
true.
don't tell me to move until she's in the car. Then they come and knock on me, say, we're ready to go. So I'm like, oh God, right, we're ready. So then she's left waiting for me in the car while I'm coming to the car. So she always thinks that I'm late, but I'm not.
And then, so what's the excuse when we're doing press then?
He's taking a nap.
They wait till Caitriona's in the car and then they tell me to go. Yeah.
So, Sam, I think this is something you need to work on, because then it'll be another bingo question, and we can't have that, right?
Why am I always late?
I'm teasing. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything else.
It's going to stay with him forever.
Oh.
Clearly.
And there's going to be so many headlines about this.
So much trouble. Yeah.
He'll get you back,
I wasn't
I'm
late
sure.
today. I was kind of on
I
time.
think it was early today. He was here before I was.
Yeah.
I like this is the new Sam.
Yeah, this is season 3. That's what you're going to see that's different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, thank you. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and to all you tuning in, thank you.
For everyone that played along.
Yes,
thanks for all that played along.
New game.
And there's a new Outlander this weekend, so catch it. And thanks for tuning in. And if you want to see more of our Emmy chats, visit latimes.com. Thanks.